Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to just jump right in and I'm going to talk about narcissistic fathers. I've covered narcissistic mothers and now it's time for the fathers. This will again be in a few parts, probably 3 parts again. I guess we'll see. There's a lot to cover. So today's video is an introduction to the traits of narcissistic fathers. So this is not a these are not clinical traits because narcissism is not a clinical term. It's not saying necessarily that this person has NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, or any of that, but there are specific traits or behaviors that make someone a narcissist, and you are feeling the effects of it if you are on the other end of that, raised by someone like that, had someone like that in your life. There are obviously, as I've talked about before, there are some traits that kind of go across both genders or both roles of parenting. However, there are more specific traits that tend to gravitate more towards one or the other, and I've covered the ones for the mom, so I'm going to talk about the ones for the dad. I'm going to be looking down a little bit because I'm referring to some notes just so I don't forget anything. So the first one, he is excessively vain. He cares about his own appearance, but not just the way he looks. It's more about the optics. How does the family look? So in other words, we're the perfect family. Look at us. It might be material things. We live in this big house. We have all these lovely things. So it's about appearance, whatever that might look like, whether it's personal, whether it's the way the family looks, the optics. So think visual, think optics, think appearance. The next one, he's overly obsessed with success. So it can tie in with the idea of grandiose narcissism, which I will cover in another video. But basically, he has to be the best, the most accomplished, even if he isn't. It's in his own mind that he at least thinks he's successful. So there might be some boasting. There might be like, I'm the best at everything. I'm the expert. And basically, it will keep him insulated from anything that contradicts what he thinks. So he's so invested in that idea that he is a success in whatever way that looks. The next one would be he didn't support you emotionally. They don't have much empathy, so he will be unable to recognize he doesn't even know the meaning of emotional support. He might look like he's doing it if he cares about how that looks, and again, there might be the more victim-oriented, vulnerable, sensitive narcissist that understands, maybe has an idea of what they're supposed to be doing, but they can't provide the emotional context for it. They can't attach. There's no real bond. There's no sense of real attachment. So not supported, not getting your needs met emotionally. He made, if it's in the past, or makes fun of you. Again, he needs to have the upper hand. So he might use humor, but it's not funny. You're the butt of the joke. It's cruel humor. It's not like ha 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 or having fun, with humor. It's more about the little, teasing to the point of having you in tears. Oh, I didn't really mean that. Or why are you so sensitive? So it's using it as a weapon. Humor is used as a weapon. He calls you only to boast about himself. So it could be that if you don't live with this person anymore, but you're still in contact, he might call you up to he's looking for supplies. So maybe like, oh, I just did this amazing thing, and you're supposed to like be so impressed by it. You're part of his little admiration committee or cheerleading squad. He's unable to acknowledge your success as an adult. So there's no positive feedback. There's no anything really. It might be ignored. It might even be criticized or made fun of, but you're not getting any recognition of your own accomplishments. He might use love bombing as a way to win affection. So he might try to buy your love with extravagant gifts, and he'll reject you if you don't show the extravagant appreciation that goes along with it. There's always strings attached. There's no such thing as a gift for the sake of giving. There's always something behind it. There's an intention behind it. He wants something. So again, he could buy you a house, but there's a lot of strings there. So there's never just giving for the sake of giving. Um, Another one, so he belittles you in front of your partner and children. So to build his own ego, he will cut you down at um, with no remorse at your expense to again, make you look bad, I guess, in the eyes of your spouse, your kids, whoever. He boasts about early successes. Sometimes he's living in the past. If he had any kind of success, so he'll boast about himself and compare you to him. So he'll think nothing of pointing out your shortcomings to feed his ego, but also in comparison, like when I was your age, I already owned my own company or whatever. But it's very boastful, and it's meant to put you down in comparison. He continually makes rude comments about your appearance. So he might comment about your weight, your appearance in some other way, anything that, again, he can use against you, particularly if you have any insecurity about anything. He'll get on that. Let's say you have frizzy hair. He'll comment about your frizzy hair. Whatever it is, he will tune into that. He'll know that bothers you, and he will double down on that. He can't take any constructive feedback. So if you try to share any thoughts about his behavior, he will turn on you, and he'll come back even worse in even more hurtful ways. He makes rude comments. He finds reasons to avoid showing up at events that celebrate others. So he doesn't want to see anyone else's success. So he'll avoid attending any events that remind him either that someone else is successful, or even if he hasn't really been successful, it'll be a reminder, it'll be threatening. And particularly if he's a vulnerable narcissist, that's going to really stick in his craw. He's really not going to want to have to compare himself and come out unfavorably. He tries to triangulate you into disagreements, always trying to get the upper hand. He will take pleasure in building alliances designed to hurt others. So he might get the siblings to gang up on you. He might cause problems between you and your spouse. Like whatever it is, triangulation is always involving somebody else in a very negative, toxic way that's trying to isolate you and kind of have an us against you mentality, so that you're the person alone and you have everybody else kind of in the mix, whether they know it or not. Sometimes they don't even know that they've been dragged into it, and he will go, well, they all hate you, or something, when it may not be true. Other times he may actually stir the pot and get them involved in some way that's going to harm you. He manipulates you into doing what he wants. So he uses guilt or sometimes other types of emotional blackmail to force you into doing what he's asking, even if you don't want to. So it's that tricky manipulation, that getting you to do things. And you usually, you're being manipulated because it kind of, for want of a better word, it kind of feels icky. You kind of get an icky feeling. You're getting like, ooh, like, why am I doing this? And then you can even feel a lot of shame around it. He ignores boundaries you try to enforce. So even if you tell him what behaviors you won't tolerate, he'll keep doing them. He will push and push and push. And then he might accuse you of being too sensitive. He never made you feel loved unconditionally. You realize if you didn't behave in the way he wanted, he could withdraw his love altogether. So if there was even any semblance, sometimes you don't get that, but even if you got any little, it's not even really love, it's just that approval. If you got any little bit of approval or attention in a positive way, it was only when you were doing what you were supposed to be doing in this very narrow way. And it was, do what I want, do only what I want, don't be a bother, and I might love you. But anything outside of that, no, it was always conditional. And that's where that kind of, which I'll talk about in a later video, about why sometimes people become people pleasers, or they're always trying to seek approval because they're trying to get that early approval that they never got. He compares your children unfavorably to himself as a child. So even your own kids, he can pick on and go, why is so-and-so struggling in school? I never struggled in school, or something. So basically, he thinks nothing of picking on a child, whether it's in front of them, whether it's to you, anyone's game. And then finally, he monopolizes conversations and talks over others. Regardless of the occasion, a narcissistic father is convinced his value is the only one that matters. He has no interest in what anyone else has to say. And if you do, you're stupid, you're ignorant, you haven't learned. Sometimes there's this idea, oh, you'll grow out of it, you're just naive, or you haven't lived in the world, you don't have my experience. But that's even sometimes too much, even for a narcissist to say, and maybe they'll just get super angry, really defensive, attack you. So basically, they're monopolizing. Now, these are sort of the main traits that stick out for narcissistic fathers. No one is necessarily going to encompass all of these. There could be others I haven't mentioned. And as I've said before, a lot of these can also apply to a narcissistic mother. They just tend to more likely fit into the dynamics of a narcissistic father. And there are others as well that could exist, but these are kind of the main ones. So if you recognize any of these, I hope this is helpful for you. And I will explore in the next video, I'm going to talk about the actual types. So I've talked about behaviors, but next time I'm going to talk about more of the types of narcissistic fathers to give a little more clarity around that and how that kind of fits in with these dynamics and these behavioral patterns. So stay tuned. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your support. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Please comment below if you have anything you'd like to comment on about further videos you'd like to see, or anything I've missed that you'd like to see covered. I love getting comments. I love hearing what you have to say. I love engaging. So that's it for now, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.